Hey there, Bible buddies. I've got another Bible review for you today. And this one's a little bit different. Instead of the normal King James Version Bibles that I bring to you guys, this is a New American Standard Bible. This is one that was produced by Cambridge, and it's a 1977 edition of the New American Standard Bible. This one I actually picked up in a lot sale on eBay with about 4 other Bibles for around $20. Now, this one isn't in the best of conditions, but at the time I was looking for a 77 NASB, and this one popped up, and I decided to snag it. So we'll go ahead and take a look. We can see here the outside grain is absolutely beautiful on this. And this is a calfskin that Cambridge used to use back in the day, and I really wish they were still using it because this the grain pattern on this Bible is just spectacular. I love it. I love these kind of deep grainy Bibles. You can see on the front here that it says Holy Bible imprinted on the front, and it's kind of shallow, and you can actually notice that it started to wear off a little bit there, just given the shallow depth and probably the use of this Bible as it is very old. We have the spine here. You can see New American Standard Bible. What looks like, I would guess, probably references and concordance were imprinted here at some point. They've certainly worn off given the use of the Bible. Then you have Cambridge at the bottom. There are some very light indications of spine ribs. I don't know if they would have been more pronounced back in the day or less pronounced or what. I can even see a little bit of an indentation of like a perimeter line here. But again, perimeter line here. But again, this Bible is so very old that any sort of details other than the grain has certainly worn away. It is nice to see that the grain will stand the test of time, although the imprinting and other associated exterior features will not. Go ahead and take a look at the head and tail bands. These are nice. They're a little bit different. They're black and white instead of the standard yellow and black. And then we do have one black ribbon. We'll get to that in a second. You can see all the water damage there. So this was a very much well-used and well-loved Bible. So there is quite a bit of water damage there on the gilt. Causes that kind of speckling there. But it would have been a nice gilt, I would imagine, coming from Cambridge. It would have been a very nice gilt back in the day. And here's the single ribbon that we have. It's kind of a fabric ribbon. It's not really satin. It's maybe like a braided nylon or something like that. It's kind of rough on both sides. So it's just a kind of a standard ribbon mark, a little on the wide side. And go ahead and take a look at the inside on the liners. Now this is a paste down construction, and it does look like they have a little bit of reinforcing tape here. It doesn't look like it goes very far into the block. Yeah, well, maybe yes, maybe so. There's a little bit of reinforcing tape there, and it's just a paste down construction. I'll show you the corners there, if you can see them. And you'll notice that calfskin is imprinted on the bottom there to indicate this is calfskin. We'll go to the back. You see the same, more of the corner work there. We'll go ahead and get into the Bible. So you see a little bit of separation here right on the edge. That's going to happen. That's one of the things that I'm concerned about with my current Cambridge Bibles. They use a synthetic material. Now, granted, the synthetic material they use now is pretty durable, so I wouldn't expect this to happen with newer Cambridge Bibles. But, you know, I'm always curious if this will happen kind of after some time with Cambridge's synthetic liners. And we have a blank sheet there, and then we go to the presentation page. Looks like somebody's name was here at some point. There's like some sticky residue left over, but just kind of standard Cambridge pages, your family records, children and marriages, marriages and grandchildren, and then deaths. And in standard Cambridge fashion, it's the deaths is in black instead of in blue. You can see here, this is kind of interesting. This is a little bit of print information. Let's see. It looks like it says AOTNAS, CENCOLREFBIB. So if I had to guess, this is Old Testament, NASB, and then center column references, Bible. So kind of interesting to see that here from a printing perspective. This would have been probably some additional information that should have probably been outside of the trim area, so it shouldn't have been probably visible like this. But it would just give kind of the generic information here about the print, what they're printing for this specific text block. The blank sheet, and then we get to the title page, Reference Edition New American Standard Bible, containing the Old and New Testaments. Now, if you notice, usually on the bottom left here, Cambridge usually gives the model, you know, whether it's like a topaz or a turquoise or a cameo. And this one, they omitted that. I'm not sure if that's because this is the only edition that they produced or what, but we'll compare it to a cameo. It's pretty close to that same size. And here's the Lockman Foundation information, publication information, some printing information from Cambridge there. And then you have your forward, some information from the Lockman Foundation. The information on these first few pages is pretty standard for NASB Bibles. You have the preface there. If you guys feel like reading it, you certainly can pause it and read. And we have the principles of the translation. right there. Then we have the explanation of the general format. And these are abbreviations and special markings that are in the Bible. And your Old Testament title page there. It's kind of weird because they have the Old Testament title page, and then they have the books of the Bible after that. It's a little out of order, but nonetheless, it's there. So you have your kind of table of contents there. Then it gets right into the biblical text. You have Genesis, and you have your 1977 NASB text there. So you do have little, very small headers right there. It says the creation. You do see a whole plethora of references here in the center column, and then any overflow is down here. And then I would imagine the footnotes are probably going to be down here also. And it is a verse-by-verse format, and the way the NASB handles this is they'll bold the numbers of the beginning of the paragraph, and they also use paragraph markers here to indicate that it's the beginning of a paragraph, so it's kind of a twofer there. You have your running headers at the top, and then you have your book and your chapter numbers, and your page numbers at the bottom there. Now, this is a pretty standard layout for the NASB. I guess it'd probably be considered, similar to maybe like the large print ultra thin or like an NASB reference edition. They tend to look like this. Maybe not the side column reference, obviously, but it's something that we're pretty familiar with. If you guys read the NASB, we'll get over to the Poetic books. Let's get into Psalms. So for Psalms, you can see the poetry is done pretty nicely here. There is some indentation. It does look like there was maybe a minimal amount to make it look like poetry as far as like evening the lines out. I do see some widows and orphans, kind of some single words here at the end of lines. Again, I'm always a fan of them correcting that and kind of evening the lines out, but I can understand in a double column that might not be the easiest thing to do. I'll go to the New Testament. Surprisingly, kind of differing from modern times NASBs, this is actually a red letter. Sorry, red letter in the loosest of usages, right? This is kind of a neon pink. This must have been before Cambridge switched over to their their nice dark red letter. This is certainly how red letter was done back in the day. It's a very hot pink, neon pink, red. So there you go. There you have it. It's very bright, very vibrant. The paper on this is very nice. It's a little bit on the thin side, and I don't think that they had that listed. Let's look real quick. I don't think they had it listed as India paper. No, they did not. So it's not going to be India paper, but whatever it is, whatever formulation they're using here, back in the 70s, it was still quite nice. It's certainly not anything like you would find in the early 90s or anything like that with a ton of show through. You can see here that the ghosting is extremely minimal. You're going to see a little bit here just, because there's some extra room because of the poetic settings. But for the most part, it looks very well done. Now I can't tell. Let me double check. It does not look like there's line matching. You can see kind of where the chapter starts here. The lines tend to be a little kind of off-centered between what's behind it. So it doesn't look like there's line matching. Specific line matching, I mean, it'll kind of happen on occasion. You can see this Bible's been well used. It was marked up in the New Testament. And some notes were made here and there. I guess I can show you probably the backside of that so you can see what show-through would look like. And you can see the show-through isn't that great. I mean, isn't that bad, I should say. So there were some blue notes on the reverse side of this. You see all those blue underlines and notes there. And then on the flip side, you really don't see much of it showing through, which is pretty great considering the blue typically tends to be an ink color that shows through pretty easily, pretty readily. So we'll go ahead and get to the end of the Bible. Some more ultra bright red. And it wraps up there, Revelation 22. And we have a concordance. And it's a pretty decent sized concordance, especially for the era. That's pretty nice. 3-column concordance there. And then after the concordance, I think this is all still concordance. It's pretty sizable. After the concordance, there we go. There we go. You have my favorite, the Gazetteer. And this is essentially an index to the maps. Just a fancy way of saying index to the maps. But it's, kind of a breakdown of where everything is located on the maps here. And then you have a table of contents of the maps. So this tells you what each of the maps represent. And we can see here the old Cambridge maps that are nicely done, very colorful. a little more subdued than what you would find at the time in other manufacturers. I prefer these older maps. I like them. They have character to me. It's kind of what I grew up using. So, and then at the end here, there's a production code. I'm not sure what this means. It's just a lonely 12. I don't know if that means it was produced in December or what, but it's just a 12 by itself. And then you have the model number there, which is a 745XLR. I'm assuming red letter for the LR at the end. The rest of it, I could not venture a guess. And then you just have a couple fly leaves there, and you're all set. That's the end of the Bible. So we'll go ahead and take some measurements. We'll get the font measured in the Bible itself. Now, I will say that this is very, very similar to the size of a Cameo. So it measures in at 7 1/2-3/8 of an inch tall. And then width is going to be 5 1/8 of an inch wide. And thickness is going to be 1 1/3/8 of an inch thick. As far as the text size goes, I measured it beforehand, and I think it came out at a 9, but don't quote me on that. Let me double check it real quick. So we'll go ahead and look here, the M in Samuel. A little smaller. It's an 8.5, it looks like, maybe, or an 8. Probably an 8.5. It looks to be about an 8.5 point font. And we'll look at the capital letters. There's an E for Eliab, and that'll do us better. Comparing apples to apples. All right. And that looks a little small. That looks like an 8 point. So it looks like the capital letters are about an 8 point Times New Roman, and the lowercase letters are an 8.5 point Times New Roman, which isn't terrible given the size of this Bible. It's a pretty good hand-sized Bible, like I said before. So we will compare it now to a Cameo, so you guys can get a good feel for a modern Bible. Like I said, they're pretty close to the same size. This is a Cambridge Cameo. You know, it's probably just a hair taller, it looks like. We'll check the width. Width the same, maybe just a hair wider. I mean, not very much. You're talking like millimeters there. And then as far as thickness goes, the NASB is certainly wider than the new Cameo. So we'll compare the text size too. Not that it's the same translation or anything, but at least for a reference. And you can see the new Cameo is certainly much brighter, the page. The text is much darker, but the spacing is much better on the NASB as far as like line spacing between the lines. It looks like it's a little more kind of aired out. So there you are. Certainly an interesting find. I love these older editions of modern translations. It's kind of neat to have an older representation or kind of a history of where the translation came from. I know that there was a 75 and then 77, and then there was the 95, which is kind of everybody's favorite, and then you have the 2020 update of the NASB. So again, it's kind of interesting just seeing being able to read the kind of steps along the way. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, please like, comment, and subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. Otherwise, I will talk to you later, Bible buddies. Bye.